Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to welcome you to today's press conference. Today, we are very happy to announce that we've taken the first step in improving the quality of life of our African American males between the ages of 14 through 24 in Indianapolis. Today, in partnership with dozens of community partners and funders, the City of Indianapolis, and the White House, we are happy to announce that the Your Life Matters Plan of Action is complete. Can I give the community partners a round of applause? And by way of background, in April of 2014, Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard appointed Jamal Smith, the Executive Director of the Indiana Civil Rights Commission, and I, to co-chair the YLM Task Force to report on barriers that exist for African American males in Indianapolis. The YLM Task Force released a report at the Local Action Summit held at Bankers Life Fieldhouse in November 2014, which contained 48 recommendations in the categories of employment, mentoring, justice reentry, education, and health. It was at that same time that Mayor Ballard accepted President Obama's My Brother's Keeper challenge. In January, the City of Indianapolis announced its transition of the Your Life Matters initiative to Indiana Black Expo. IBE has since moved forward with the development of a plan of action based on the 48 recommendations outlined in the Your Life Matters Task Force report in an effort to accomplish the My Brother's Keeper challenge and goals. Our consultant, Community Solutions LLC, led the efforts to construct the plan. In March of this year, IBE hosted its kickoff strategy development session in an effort to create a well-rounded action plan in support of the Your Life Matters and My Brother's Keeper initiatives. To date, we have had more than 100 community partners, funders, stakeholders, and elected officials pledge to help implement the strategies identified in the plan. Indiana Black Expo is excited about leading this effort and ensuring that the plan does not fall through the cracks. We are happy to announce that we have officially begun the search for an executive director for the Your Life Matters initiative. The executive director will work closely with my team, the Your Life Matters Advisory Board, Your Life Matters lead partners, and community stakeholders to meet the identified outcomes that are set forth in the plan of action. The Executive Search Committee includes Martha Lampkin, founder and former CEO of Lumina Foundation, who is with us today, Pat Rowe, Senior Program Officer for USA Funds, who is with us today, and Jimmy Brown, President of HealthNet, as well as Bruce Curry, IBE's HR Specialist. These executives are searching for candidates that possess those skills necessary to oversee and drive a collective impact model such as the Your Life Matters initiative. While we are identifying an executive director to lead this initiative, we are working alongside one of our YLM partners from the beginning, Radio 1 Indianapolis. Radio 1 and its stations, Hot 96.3, WTLC AM 1310, and WTLC 106.7 will continue to be actively involved in our Your Life Matters namesake effort. During May and early June, Radio 1 station's public affairs programs and their social media sites will engage listeners and the community to share their reactions to the Your Life Matters plan of action and suggest other next steps. Radio 1 stations will follow up with PSA, web stories, and public affairs programming to continue to emphasize the importance of Indianapolis committing resources to help enhance the quality of life for African American young men. The YLM Executive Director will host community town hall meetings during the month of June in those specific areas identified in the Caring for Our Community, Every Street Counts public safety plan. Those town hall meetings will be heavily promoted on Radio 1 stations and through YLM partner organizations. It has been a very busy year for IBE. I want to thank our board of directors and board chairman Greg Wilson, who is behind me, for their leadership, as well as my hardworking staff, that has stepped up and spent many long hours on this initiative while also working on IBE's day-to-day programming. If I could just give my staff a round of applause. I want to thank members of the Your Life Matters Task Force, many who are with us today, and every organization and individual that helped form this plan of action. I also want to thank Lena Hackett and her team at Community Solutions for helping us develop what I think is a very thorough plan with very aggressive timetables. Lastly, I want to acknowledge Melody Birmingham Bird, Senior Vice President of Midwest Delivery Operations with Duke Energy, an advisory board member of Your Life Matters that is here with us today. Now, today you will hear from Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard, Special Advisor to President Barack Obama Michael Smith, Director of Public Safety Troy Riggs, Senior Program Officer for USA Funds Pat Rowe, President of Community Solutions LLC Lena Hackett, YLM Lead Partners, President and CEO of the Indiana Youth Institute Bill Stanchakevich, Director of Marion County Public Health Department Dr. Virginia Kane, Advisory Board Member of Marion County Reentry Coalition, Bill Olamiller, President of the Indianapolis Chamber of Commerce, Mike Huber, and District Positive Discipline Coordinator of Indianapolis Public Schools, Dr. Cynthia Jackson. Now, don't get nervous. I told them a couple of minutes. It's going to be brief. All have been asked to briefly share their roles and perspectives about the Your Life Matters initiative and the plan of action. It is without further ado, I welcome Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard to the podium.
We were kidding back there. Were there any pastors in that group? And apparently not, so that's good. All right? All right, okay. So thank you everybody for being here today as we move forward with the next phase of the Your Life Matters initiative. We all share a commitment to the well-being of all Indianapolis residents. And today, Indiana Black Expo is unveiling their action plan at improving the quality of life for African American youth and the disconnected youth in our community. And over the last year, a lot of people have come together and put in tremendous number of hours to identify the gaps and to find ways to close those gaps. In March of last year, we announced this initiative to begin discussions around barriers faced by Indy's young people. And last April, as Tanya said, I appointed her and Jamal Smith as co-chairs of the Your Life Matters Task Force. And they recruited top-notch task force members from across the community. They did an unbelievable job. The group drove right into the task at hand, developed a comprehensive report full of those 48 recommendations to improve the quality of life for Indy youth. Amazing work, amazing how much detail was in there, and I remember we talked about that, at how comprehensive it was, but also on some level how disturbing it was. And this continuing effort really does require a team of experts who can command strong community support and partnership. Indiana Black Expo matches that description perfectly. I have confidence in Tanya Bell and her team. I know that they are committed to their work and have a passion for moving Indianapolis forward. And today, we get to take that next step, very importantly. Because we need to make Indianapolis a place where all people of all ages and all backgrounds feel welcome. This work is so important to the city's future, and it is our job here today, to join forces with all of these folks and implement these plans with fidelity. So I look forward to seeing the plans come to life. Again, I want to thank Tanya and Indiana Black Expo, the staff, and all the community partners who have come together, all these great organizations who will be partnering in this effort. This is a big step in the history of the city of Indianapolis, and Tanya, I thank you for leading that charge. Thank you so much.
And we should thank the mayor for his bold leadership on this initiative. Can we give the mayor of Indianapolis a round of applause? And at this time, I'm very excited to have with us all the way from the White House, Michael Smith, who is the special advisor to President Barack Obama, who will speak about the My Brother's Keeper initiative and our plan. Thanks.
Thank you, Tanya. Good morning, everybody. It's an honor to be back here in Indianapolis. I want to thank you again, Tanya. I want to thank the Black Expo team, to Mayor Ballard, Jamal, who's not here today, and the city of Indianapolis for this invitation, and just for your continued outstanding leadership on this vital work. I know the president was here a few months ago, and I'm a poor substitute, but I thank you for having me here anyway. Mayor Ballard, Tanya, Jamal, in November, I had the privilege to join you at Bankers Life Fieldhouse for the launch of your My Brother's Keeper Community Challenge, which expanded the work of Your Life Matters. And during that event, you released an outline of the challenges facing boys and young men of color and other underserved youth in Indianapolis, and you committed to act with urgency, rigor, and collaboratively to outline a plan of action to meet these needs. Drafts of plans all across the nation. I want to let you know you should be prepared to be impressed. It's filled with bold goals tackling tough challenges, not moderate goals, not incremental goals, bold goals like reducing suspensions, improving youth police relationships, launching a private sector employment initiative. It's rigorous, it's comprehensive, it's concise. There are detailed timelines and action steps to achieve the goals, and they're operating with urgency, as Dr. King reminded us that we needed to. 12 to 18-month timelines, because our kids can't wait for us to take years to get this work done. It includes roles from diverse partners across sectors, and brings new resources to the table, which is so incredibly important. And I know folks from USA Jobs will talk about, USA Funds will talk about some commitments there. And what's exciting about the commitments that are being made, it's not just for events or programs, it's for the capacity to get this work done, which is incredibly important. And it's built on a collective impact frame, which is about common measurement, a common agenda, and about bringing the community together, realizing we all have a role to play. And I want to let you know that while you are here in Indianapolis working hard, President Obama and our team back at the White House have your back. In February, we celebrated the year anniversary of My Brother's Keeper, and could not be happier with the momentum that's building across the country for this kind of work. We have nearly 200 mayors, tribal leaders, and county executives that have accepted the My Brother's Keeper Community Challenge and are now doing similar work, preparing to launch their local action plans. We have more than 60 superintendents across the country in the nation's largest urban school districts that have pledged to develop new strategies to help meet our objectives. Then there's been more than $300 million in philanthropic and corporate support to support this work. And the Cabinet of the United States, the President's Cabinet, has been working to implement new policies and expand effective programs. Things like the Department of Labor's American Apprenticeship Grant Program, $100 million, School Turnaround AmeriCorps, new guidance on correctional education. And so we are working to do everything we can in Washington while you do the really important work here to change lives in Indianapolis. And so I just want to thank you again, Indiana Black Expo. I want to thank you, Mayor Ballard. I want to thank the Your Life Matters Task Force for your dedication to our kids, as the mayor said, and to the idea that the president laid out when he launched My Brother's Keeper, that my neighbor's child is my child, that each of us has an obligation to give every child the same chance that this country has given to so many of us. Thank you and congratulations.
And at this time, I want to call up an individual who has been involved, very actively involved from day one, from the task force, now on the search committee for the executive director. And really, I consider her a mentor of mine even throughout this entire journey and process. And so at this time, we will have Pat Rose, Senior Program Officer with USA Funds.
Well, good morning, everyone, and I tell you, it's been my pleasure to be a part of this team, and I tell you, I commend Mayor Ballard, but I also commend Tanya and Jamal for the tremendous work that they did throughout this whole process, as well as Tanya's team. So let's again give them a round of applause. You know, when your mayor calls upon you to be a part of a task force that is entitled Your Life Matters, how can you refuse? And you know what? There may not be a preacher in the audience, but it was God who brought us all together. Amen. And so for me, the involvement on this task force has been multi-purpose. I have learned so much in terms of what the talent is within our community with our leaders. I have been able to be engaged in this process and to really understand and help unfold some of the challenges that we have within our community. And yes, I stepped up to accept the opportunity also to be a part of the Executive Search Committee. And while we have received a little over a dozen wonderful resumes, I want you to know we're still actively recruiting. We won't continue this process forever. We'll probably allow it to go another week as we are combing through those individuals who want to step to the plate to take on this tremendous opportunity. And there's one thing I want everyone to know. While we can only select one executive director, we will be able to impart with many individuals as we shape and continue to reshape the work that we're going to be doing with Your Life Matters. This work aligns very well with USA Fund's strategy. Our mission has not changed. We, in the last year and a half, had a new president and CEO, Mr. William Hanson, to join us, and he is an amazing gentleman. One of the strategies that he brought to the table was completion with a purpose. And what I see in terms of that alignment is that with a purpose means how we are working through workforce development types of initiatives. So along with our ability to work with this population of young men ages 14 to 24, because they're disengaged right now, we want to take the opportunity to re-engage these youth and young adults in their academics, in workforce development strategies, because by all means, we need to return them to productive members of our society. And we can't do this by just putting some Band-Aids on this and allowing them to then go on through their paths. I think that's why we have some of the challenges with our reentry program today, because we have not done all that we could do in terms of bringing workforce strategies to the table. So, and one of the things that was amazing, we're talking about the collective impact model that we will see take place with all the partners. We first saw the collective impact model when we came together as a leadership group to be able to comb through this work again and to really be able to just start to look at the challenges and then the opportunities as a funder. And that is, we will be funding this initiative. We will be helping Indiana Black Expo, our mayor, as well as our community with this particular initiative. We won't be doing it for 1 year. We are in the process of putting forth together a grant application that's going to be a multi-year commitment, not less than 3. Every year we will have reports that come out to help us track our progress on this work, and we will be reporting that information to you. We want to be transparent. We want to keep this relevant, but we want you to be engaged as well. And lastly, what I want to say is this. You know, we're all leaders up here, and we try to think through and make sure that we tap into everybody in our community that we can and that we should. But what I don't want to see is if there's someone out there that wants to be involved, please step to the plate, let us know, because there's room for all of us. I thank you so much for being here, and I'm so excited about this work.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to call Lena Hackett up, President of Community Solutions, LLC. I think Pat already indicated Lena and her team has been instrumental and has brought a gift to this process that we really needed in order to birth this initiative. And so thank you. I just want to publicly thank you for all of the work. The first time I met with you, I knew, okay, this is who's going to help us with this plan. I knew it. I didn't need to meet with anyone else. But at this time, Lena Hackett.
Thank you. It has been our honor to work on this plan, and as Tanya said, the first time we met, I think we both knew, and we were both trying to, keep it all calm, but we both knew. Has been a great relationship. I just want to orient you a little bit to the plan, because I know there are way more impressive people coming up that you want to hear from. If you look at the plan, we've heard a couple of things. There is a sense of urgency about it, because this is an urgent situation. So that's one of the reasons it's an 18-month plan, because we want to know what can we get done in 18 months. And then given however much progress is made, what do we want to do in the next 18 months? If you go much longer than that, that sense of urgency is lost. The other thing key to this plan is, as you'll see in each component of it, there is a lead partner. This plan and this whole initiative has been blessed with how folks have stepped up and said, I'll lead that piece. And many of them made it kind of on a leap of faith because we couldn't really tell them what leading that piece meant. But it was part of their work, it was part of their passion. So the lead partners all stepped forward and said, I'll take the violence initiative, I'll take the healthcare initiative, and I will make sure in working with IBE that this gets done. There are also supporting partners in there. And supporting partners are everyone who thought this was a piece of their work too, and they wanted to be on board. I do want to be really clear, it's a dynamic plan. So anyone who wants to step forward and be a supporting partner, anyone who wants to step forward and feel like they and their organization have something to contribute, just because right now your name's not in black and white on that piece of paper does not mean that you can't step forward and do that. It is an evolving, nimble plan, and it is meant to be that way. It is also a data-driven plan, because we want to be able to say in 18 months, here's the progress we made, here's the data to support it, and this is how you as a community know that you have made a difference in the lives of these folks. And lastly, the other purpose of the plan was to leverage everything that is going on in this community. You have the city's Bicentennial Plan 2020. You have the Marion County Health Department's Community Health Initiative Plan. You have Indiana Youth Institute with their Indiana Mentoring Network. We wanted to make sure we were leveraging all of those resources and really drilling down and focusing them on this target population. So it's a phenomenal plan because of the collaboration of this community and how well the people in Indianapolis know how to collaborate. Because we all know if one organization could do it, we wouldn't all be standing in this room right now. So it's going to take all of these organizations working together, weaving their work together, leveraging each other. And in 18 months, I think there's going to be a stunning difference. So thank you.
And at this time, I want to call up Deputy Director Troy Riggs, Director of Public Safety with the City of Indianapolis. Ever since we released Director Riggs. Ever since we released the report, we really have been sitting down with Director Riggs and his team, Val, who has been absolutely just amazing on their end with really, okay, what can we do now? What are some of the short-term strategies? Okay, let's talk about a pilot here and what can we do here? And so I just want to thank you so much for not only your leadership, but opening up your arms. You are a very busy man to us to really say, look, we really want to make a difference here. So at this time, Director Riggs.
Thank you, Tanya, for those kind words. Last week, I was in Washington, D.C., and Michael and I were talking about this, and we were talking about data, but that we have been there a handful of times now. And one of the reasons we want to be in leadership, I was honored enough to be there when President Barack Obama talked about my brother's keeper. Was honored that Tanya and Jamal asked me to be there on their first meeting of Your Life Matters. And when we were recently in D.C., we talked about our data. And we are one of the few cities that are using data, and not only just crime data, but overlapping it with quality of life issues and making sure that we're dealing with issues holistically as a community. And they said, how has Indianapolis changed so much in this approach in 2 years? And I said, because in Indianapolis, we collaborate. You get in trouble if you don't collaborate in this city. So we collaborate, and we work together, and we make a difference. And let me tell you something, you're making a difference. Property crime in this city, and I want to say this on behalf of Chief Hyde because he's the leader there. Property crime is double digits lower last year, 2014, than it was in 13. So far this year, violent crime is trending down. Homicides are down 40%. 40% in our city. But let's not lose focus. The systemic issues that led to crime, an increase in crime, is going to lead to it again if we don't do something about it as a community. It's not fair that 30% plus of our young people live in poverty. It's not fair that a police officer, he or she, dedicates their career to the public and public safety, and yet they learn that 30 to 40% of the people they arrest have a mental illness. It's not fair when we have 6,000 to 8,000 people reentering society in Marion County coming out of prison, and there's not services there to help them be successful. Mayor, I applaud you for realizing government's not the answer. It's part of the solution. The community's part of the answer. And Tanya, I thank you and Your Life Matters for stepping up and taking that charge. One of the questions I got in D.C., will you be successful? No, the question should be, will we as a community be successful? This is Indianapolis. We will be successful. Thank you, Tanya, for the leadership.
Okay, and at this time, we're going to transition into hearing from many of the lead partners who are deemed the subject matter experts with respect to what you see in the plan. And at this time, very excited to have with us Bill Stanchakevich, President and CEO of Indiana Youth Institute, who is a lead partner. I didn't butcher it, did I?
It was perfect.
Okay, thank you. Who is a lead partner that's identified in this plan. And Indiana Black Expo has worked with IYI over the years for a long time. And so we just really appreciate your partnership and your leadership with respect to this issue.
Thank you. Thank you. Tell you, spirit of collaboration. Anybody learn how to say my last name? There's the evidence for you right there. I want to commend President Obama for his leadership, Mayor Ballard for his leadership, and how fortunate we are to have Indiana Black Expo in our capital city and throughout the state of Indiana. I don't even think what our state would be like without this wonderful organization and your leadership, Tanya. You know, in our capital city, we've had so much development in physical infrastructure. Think of where this city was 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and now we have that downtown mall, and we have the vibrant downtown area. We have our stadiums, we have our convention center, we have the beautiful IUPUI campus that continues to grow. We have the great airport, especially for a city our size, all this physical infrastructure, and that work, of course, is never done. But it was the July 4th holiday just a couple of years ago where one man decided his best option was to shoot another young man, and he did so right next to that mall. And he wasn't enrolled in IUPUI. We now need to turn to the social infrastructure of this capital city. Certainly with parents, moms and dads raise your kids. Parents are uniquely influential and uniquely responsible for their children. But as was said by one of our colleagues here, they are all of our children. We need to reach out and be our brothers and our sisters' keeper and build the social infrastructure of this city the way we wonderfully have and continue to do so with the physical infrastructure. We can stand here today and guarantee to you that every child in Marion County, including African American males, will be mentored. 100% guarantee that they'll be mentored. The question is by who and by what? Will they be mentored by that caring mentor, by that teacher, by that after-school youth program, or will they be mentored by the streets, the street gang leader, and by that guy who wants her to find all the love in all the wrong places? We know that kids will be mentored, and that's the opportunity we have is, as caring adults to be engaged with them as mentors in their lives. The research backs up common sense. There's no magic solutions, but a child with a mentor is much more likely to do better in school, to stay sober, to stay away from the street gangs, to get the education that they need, to get the jobs that are open today. And you can look as recently as the State of Our Black Youth Report, where in Terre Haute, Indiana, they started a mentoring program and dramatically increased their African American high school graduation rate by recruiting mentors to get into the lives of children. You know, a lot said about waiting lists. There's no waiting list to get in the street gang. There's no waiting list to live in poverty. There's no waiting list to become a teen parent. There's no waiting list on the street corner. There is no waiting list at the morgue. But there is a waiting list for these mentoring programs. And there are too many people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And we hope the residents of Central Indiana are in that group so that we can eliminate the waiting lists at the mentoring programs. And too many adults say, I don't understand the kids. I don't get the jewelry. I don't get the tattoos. I can't understand the lyrics. I can't name one player on somebody else's NBA team that doesn't play in our state. And these kids know them all. You know, we talk to the kids, you know what they say? We know you're not cool. That's okay. We're asking for as little as 1 hour a week. And the mentoring programs will train you. The mentoring programs will walk alongside you. This is what they do. 100 Black Men, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, the Starfish Initiative, they are waiting for you. And unlike the morgue, they do have a waiting list, and we can eliminate that waiting list this week and over the next 18 months and continue to do that work. So that's what we're calling on folks to do. We're so grateful for the Indianapolis Chamber, the leadership of Michael Huber, calling on employers. Can you give your folks 1 hour paid time off a week? We do it at the Indiana Youth Institute. They do it at Old National Bank, at Do It Best Hardware, up at NIPSCO, Fort Wayne Metals. You do that. Give your folks an hour paid time off a week to go be a mentor, because the kids are in school and a lot of the adults are in the workplace, and employers, you can build that bridge. And we're so grateful for Michael's leadership in calling on his members to do that, as well as Kevin Brinegar's leadership statewide at the state chamber. Again, there are too many people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. Mentoring is not the magic solution, but the research shows that it works. And we can eliminate that waiting list and show kids that there is a better way, so that they're at the mall doing positive things and enrolling at great physical places like IUPUI, and then, by the way, becoming the parents and the mentors to raise the next generation. Thank you.
And at this time, with respect to the health component of the report, I would like to call up Dr. Virginia Kane, Director of the Marion County Public Health Department. Dr. Kane.
Well, I again want to thank President Obama, Mayor Ballard, President Bill, and Jamal for this opportunity to be such a part of this critically important plan that's designed to improve the lives of our young African American males in our city. This plan of action actually reinforces what the Marion County Public Health Department's Community Health Assessment found, that our young African American males ages 15 to 24 are disproportionately victims of homicide. In 2011, 85% of the homicides were African Americans. 2012, 83% of the homicides were African American males. We also found in our assessment that of this particular age group, that 49% of that age group said that they were depressed in the past month over 14 days out of each month, such to the point that they couldn't even do their normal activities. Let me give this to you again. 49%, you can just say half of the 15 to 24-year-olds said that they were so depressed over 14 days out of each month that they couldn't do normal activities. Now, when you're depressed, you get frustrated. And over time, if you can't get those services, that help that you need, you're going to have problems with conflict resolution, and you're going to have problems dealing with how to address the violence. Now, let's fast forward to the younger kids. We find that 25% are actually bullying in the school, 25%. And you know that leads to suicide. Suicide's our fifth leading cause of death in this particular 12 to 17-year-olds. And we even have suicides in our 10 to 14-year-olds. And so that's just as much violence as we have with whether it's from a homicide standpoint. So we think this is why this is a public health approach. And we appreciate this plan because it combines all these multiple agencies, and we're addressing the social determinants of health and health disparities across Marion County. And that's today why I stand with all of our community leaders in combating youth violence. I want to say in designing the public health programs, this plan identified 4 strategies to create the biggest impact within the time and the framework that's been set before us. Broadly, these strategies will promote health education. It's going to implement a community-wide violence prevention campaign, evidence-based that we know that works. It's going to reach young people at their point of care, and we have got to increase our young men's access to health care, mental health services, conflict resolution, Hey, when you're hungry, you do terrible things. When you're hungry, you do terrible things. And so we have a diverse coalition of public health agencies, healthcare providers have been implement these strategies. Askenazi, IU Health, Community Health Network, St. Francis Health, St. Vincent Health, all of our federally qualified community health centers, Midtown, the School of Public Health and Medicine. And these are just a number of the other outstanding agencies that are involved in addressing this. So again, I want to thank Mayor Ballard, President Bell, Jamal, who couldn't be here, for spearheading this critical initiative for Marion County. I look forward to working with all of you on this important endeavor because we've got to save our children. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I will have Robert Oler Miller, Chair of the Marion County Reentry Coalition Advisory Board, to come and talk about the justice section of the plan.
I'm very pleased here to represent the Marion County Reentry Coalition, and the reason why is because we are about results-based accountability, and we're about reducing the need for the justice system, about reducing the incidence of recidivism, reducing the need for our youth not to be able to build on their strengths, but to build every day on those strengths and not be felt as rejects by the system. So we want to build on the strengths of all the young people 14 to 24. I work for the Marion County Sheriff's Office, for Sheriff Layton. He's given me the opportunity to do programs with our youth. We have an Insider Art program we just started for the youth in association with the Indianapolis Arts Center. We think that's a very positive thing to do. But the sheriff doesn't want these young men in there. That's why we do programs. We don't want anyone that doesn't have to be in jail in there. So if this plan comes together the way it can and the way it should, we're going to have fewer people needing reentry, fewer people in the justice system. And I'm impressed with this plan. I think it's based on exactly the kind of thing that the Reentry Coalition has been doing for several years now, results-based accountability. And I have not seen any plans any better anywhere for any purpose that have more promise and have a better process than this one does. So we're very pleased to be here, the Marion County Reentry Coalition, supporting and working with the Reentry and Justice section. Thank you.
At this time, we'll have Mike Huber, President and CEO of the Indianapolis Chamber of Commerce.
Again, I want to thank President Obama. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Greg Wilson. And really thank you, Tanya, and your staff who've been outstanding on this, and for your friendship. And my friendship with Jamal Smith, the leadership you've demonstrated has been outstanding. I'm the CEO of the Indianapolis Chamber of Commerce. We represent 2,200 businesses across different industries from the 9 counties of central Indiana. And I'll sum up the findings in the youth employment section of this report. We hope you will read it if you haven't already. I had the privilege of co-chairing the Youth Employment Task Force with Pastor James Jackson, who, in addition to leading a large congregation on the east side, also runs a successful youth employment program. The overarching finding that pretty much sums up 80% of the Youth Employment Task Force is the following. We have a mass work readiness problem in Indianapolis that contributes to our unemployment issue. It's true, it impacts all youth, but it's particularly acute when it comes to our young African American males. Let me say that again. We have a work readiness problem that drives the youth unemployment problem. Now, I know the mainstream of business across the region doesn't fully grasp that, because that was a real eye-opener for me as in our work as a committee, as we talked to employers and service providers. We must address this work readiness issue we have among youth. Now, I'm optimistic for 2 reasons. Number one is all of the research and all the data shows, and some of this supports what Bill Stanzakevich was talking about with mentoring. There's a window of time where if you can get to young, in our cases, young men in their habit-forming years, you can show amazing results if you can get to them in their habit-forming years. The other thing is, we don't have to reinvent the wheel in terms of what we do in our community. We found a number of programs that are already demonstrating results in their communities and in their neighborhood. We simply have to band together and scale what works. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And that was something that makes me encouraged that this can work. But it's going to require a huge coalition of people, as other speakers have said before. The business community, we've definitely got a role to play, because anytime there's an incident of violence in our community, I get calls from businesses saying, what can we do? What can we do? Right? The answer is mentoring. The answer is opening their doors and allowing youth to come in and learn about the work that happens in their businesses and how they can get on that career path. But the kind of roles that aren't just, I'm going to throw an intern at you, the kind of roles that are going to be very intentional and help youth develop these work readiness skills. It's going to take the faith community. It's going to take education. education. But what makes me really optimistic about Your Life Matters Task Force as a whole is that it combines public, private, philanthropic, academia, all coming together. I work for a very impatient group of people in business. What they would say is, okay, telling the story is great, but you got to execute. But with the type of support that's come from the president and the structure that's behind IBE, that we look forward to working with this executive director and all the organizations that have come together, we're very optimistic that we will execute starting with this first 18 months. So you have the full support of the Indianapolis Chamber of Commerce and our 2,200 members, and we look forward to getting to work. Thank you.
And lastly, I will have Dr. Cynthia Jackson, District Positive Discipline Coordinator with Indianapolis Public Schools.
Good morning. I'm honored to be here and represent the educators in Marion County, and that's a lot of people. But we have to thank one other group of educators, and that's the teacher who is important in all of your lives, right? To build your potential so you could be leaders. And that's the kind of potential that this plan supports for all of our young people who have had challenges in graduating from high school because they've been involved in other issues, or we've had suspensions and expulsions, the types of non-achievement. What this plan allows us to do through 6 strategies is to build the capacity of our young people to work in the community as well as in their schools and be successful. The target 6 strategies are reducing suspensions and expulsions through procedures and practice, to increase the relevancy of our curriculum so that we meet the student where they are in regards to their culture and to their needs, is to collaborate with the juvenile justice community, the mental health community, so that we can provide some initial programming that's going to help meet the whole child and understand that the mental health needs and health needs of our children are critical to be met. And our schools are very willing to work with them. So all of our schools in the county have different initiatives at different places, but by coordinating them and paying attention to the data and what works, we'll be able to impact the lives at a much earlier time. And when it comes to 14, to know we have a child entering with success behind them as opposed to failure. And we'll find opportunities that we can with all of our organizations to bring in the mental health supports and that part about relational support that is critical for our children. Because we all know the importance a teacher can be in your lives. And we want to build that upon with that. So this gives us some focus. 18 months is a lot of work. It's a lot of testing. But it's also an opportunity for us to answer the critical questions and pay attention to what works so that we can extend our focus. So I thank you for the opportunity to be part of that as I represent the educators in Marion County today.
So CDs with the entire plan are available at the back of the room, as well as on our website. As you heard me earlier, they're also on Radio 1's website. I see Chuck in the back of the room, one of our partners. We will now open it up for questions from the press, and I just humbly ask that we limit those questions to the topic of today, which is the Your Life Matters Plan of Action.
Tanya, no initiative has been successful in Indianapolis, even a great collaborative, without the strong, visible support of the private sector and the civic community. We saw that over a year ago in the pre-K. We saw that just recently a couple of weeks ago. When will we see the strong, visible, active support of the business and the civic and the philanthropic community behind these great recommendations? Because if they're not, even with the great words of the mayor this morning, if they are not actively and strongly behind this, this will not work, and that will leave a bad taste in many people's mouths in this community.
One of the things I would like to say is, even as part of the process, one of the things we did is we actually have a resources plan, which are for Indiana Black Expo's eyes only. And that was part of the process, engaging the philanthropic community, a lot of funders who exist with respect to their support. I feel very encouraging from the information that has been provided to us, but I believe at this point, one of the things that they want to see is the plan of action. So I'm hoping that once this plan of action is unveiled, which is today, we'll have a lot of other folks join USA Funds and some other funders that have not been announced today. And I see Pat here. I think she wants to respond.
Actually, the one thing I want to add to that statement is it is my intent to bring together a group of funders and to have a funders group as it relates to this initiative, not only today but moving forward. I think it's important for us to be able to listen to one another. It's important for us to understand what those areas and aspects of funding that we can actually take on as organizations. But I think actually today we have represented in this room several of our community leaders that really speak to how we are stepping to the plate on this particular initiative and this particular issue. So you will see the funding community come together alongside with all the other different entities here to make this a robust project, but more importantly, so that we really set the stage and help everyone to understand we're not just putting a Band-Aid on this. We are going to work this thing until we have positive results in our community. I want my grandchildren to be able to go outside and be able to play freely. And you know, right now my grandchildren are the two that can actually participate in outside activities, 12 and 7, and they're never outside by themselves. There's always an adult present with them. When I was young, that wasn't the case. We could go in our neighborhoods and play. We need to return to that state.
One more thing. You know, the business community, we do have a significant stake in this. I think one measure of whether we are successful is how many businesses can we bring to the table and rally behind this cause. Now, one thing that's really important is we also have to stay in our lane, and it's a point that Bill Stanzakevich made earlier. There are service providers who do mentoring and who do work readiness very well that have long waiting lists. So we can be the business community can be a recruitment mechanism for those folks who want to mentor and who want to serve youth. But another measure of success is going to be, do the wait lists go down? And that is something that, especially among those quality providers who do demonstrate results here, I'm repeating myself, but we're not going to recreate the wheel. We're going to try to add capacity and horsepower to those things in the community that already are working.
Yeah, you talked about the funders. What do you think is an annual investment that's needed to get this done? How much money are you talking about?
Oh, we need millions of dollars to keep this going and to get it done. But what I'll say is when you're looking at budgets from the philanthropic community, we need to look at engage not only where we are right now, but look at the future as well. So when I made the statement that we will make a multi-year commitment, I've already got that agreement in-house that we're going to do that. Right now, we're trying to determine the amount that is going to be best suited. We're not only looking at funders here within our community, we are going after state and federal funds that we can also employ to be a part of this process here. But I cannot give you an exact figure today, but as we look down the road at our community conversations, and one thing I didn't speak to is the communication plan and strategy that we will put in place with regard to this initiative. You will hear firsthand exactly not only what the investment is, but again, what the results are that we're achieving.
Any more questions? Thank you so much for attending. There are refreshments in the back if you want to grab a Long's donut or some refreshments before you leave. Thank you.